The evolution of society. What difference does it make to the dead, the orphans, and the homeless whether the mad destruction is wrought under the name of totalitarianism or in the holy name of liberty or democracy? Mahatma Gandhi. Introductory material. Dear learner, this material will help you study the topics related to Learning Activity 2. You will learn about 1. The difference between the future perfect and the future perfect progressive. 2. Vocabulary related to politics and political systems. Let's begin. 1. The difference between the future perfect and the future perfect progressive. A. Introduction. Before getting into an explicit explanation of the use of the future perfect progressive, it is better to contextualize it through an example. Do you watch TV? Did your grandparents watch TV? What about your great-grandparents? Television arrived in Colombia in 1954. What this means is that Colombians have been watching TV for 60 years now, 2014. Television won't disappear anytime soon. Our children and our children's children will probably keep on watching TV. Quick question. For how many years will Colombians have been watching TV by 2025? If mathematics is not your strength, don't worry. Answer. By 2025, Colombians will have been watching TV for 71 years. You might be thinking, what does this have to do with the future perfect progressive? Well, if you read the answer again, you will notice that it was structured using the future perfect progressive. If you are a little confused, that's okay. Below you will find information that will help you understand this concept more easily. B. Future perfect progressive use. We use the future perfect progressive when we express for how long an action will have been taking place at a point of reference in the future. The action started before that point of reference and will continue after that point. Let's analyze the example used in the introduction. By 2025, Colombians will have been watching TV for 71 years. Subject, Colombians. Action, watch TV. Point of reference in the future, 2025. Starting point of the action, 1953. Colombians started to watch TV in 1953. 71 years. Colombians will be watching TV in 2025. Colombians will have been watching TV for 71 years by 2025. Now, let's think about another situation. Your mom told you she would meet with you at 2 p.m. You arrived at 2 o'clock at the mall. It is 2:30 p.m. and she hasn't arrived yet. She called you to tell you she'll be there by 3 p.m. Quick question. For how long will you have been waiting by the time your mom gets to the mall? Answer. You will have been waiting for 1 hour. You arrived at the mall at 2 p.m. 1 hour. Your mum will get to the mall at 3 p.m. You will have been waiting for 1 hour by the time your mum gets to the mall. C. Future perfect progressive grammar structure. A. Affirmative statements. B. Negative statements. C. Interrogative statements. D. Future perfect progressive versus future perfect. Even though the future perfect and the future perfect progressive are similar, it is important to highlight the differences in use. A. The future perfect denotes that an action will have been completed before a specific time in the future. Examples. I'll have finished the chapter by 5 o'clock. My parents will have sold their house by December. B. The future perfect progressive emphasizes the continuity of the action in the future. Examples. I will have been working at this company for 15 years. Nicole will have been teaching English in Colombia for 4 years by January. C. The future perfect progressive is more commonly used with active verbs. It should not be used with stative verbs, since they don't usually have a progressive form. I will have owned a car for 5 years in February. Correct. I will have been owning a car for 5 years in February. Incorrect. Stative verbs are not normally used in the progressive tense because they describe a state rather than an action. Some examples are dislike, need, prefer, belong, own, etc. The verbs that can be used in the continuous tense are called action verbs or dynamic verbs. Some examples are work, watch, eat, walk, run, write, etc. D. There are verbs that can be expressed in both the future perfect and the future perfect progressive. Choosing one over the other depends on whether or not you want to put some emphasis on the continuity of the action. Examples. I will have been studying Portuguese for 1 year by December. Using the future perfect progressive reinforces the idea that the action will continue. I will have studied Portuguese for 1 year by December. Here, the action will be completed by the time December arrives. We don't necessarily know if the action will continue. Two, vocabulary related to politics and political systems. Just because you do not take an interest in politics doesn't mean politics won't take an interest in you. Pericles. Whether we like it or not, we are political animals. We were born into a system and are ruled by the parameters this system has established. In this part of the learning activity, you will become familiar with some vocabulary that will allow you to express your ideas about the most common political systems that have been part of the history of the humankind. A. Political systems. System. Democracy. Definition. It is a political system that allows for each individual to participate equally by suggesting, developing, and establishing the norms that run their society. It represents the omnipotent majority. Direct democracy. The opinion of every citizen has the same value. Citizens can directly participate in the governing process, the decision-making process, and the law-making process. Representative democracy. Citizens elect legislators who are the ones in charge of making the laws that will rule them. Communism. A single party or group of people rule communist states. A planned economy is part of the governing class that takes and redistributes the resources according to a said plan. Some people consider communism an authoritarian political system. Republic. The government is subject to the people. The people can remove the leaders from power. Part of its function is to protect individual rights. Monarchy. Traditionally, the people or their representatives do not choose the monarch. He, she has the final word in government. The monarch is the head of state until he or she abdicates or dies. In the modern developed world, monarchies are limited by a constitution. Dictatorship. It's an authoritarian form of government where the dictator holds supreme power. He, she is not restricted by constitutions or parliaments. B. Useful vocabulary to talk about politics. Word. Constitution. Definition. Constitución. Election, elección. Government, gobierno. Vote, voto. Right wing, derecha política. Left wing, izquierda política. Radical, radical. Liberal, liberal. Moderate, moderado. Conservative, conservador. Reactionary, reaccionario. Polarization, polarización. Demagogy, demagogía. Censorship, censura. To ban, prohibir. Prohibition, prohibición. Rights, derechos. Duty, deber. Opinionated, obstinado. Campaign, campaña. Debate, debate. Electorate, electorado. Opposition, oposición. Party, partido político. Policy, política. Politician, político. Spin doctor, asesor maquillador de datos. Oligarchy, oligarquía. Aristocracy, aristocracia. Coalition, coalición. To run, hacer campaña. To vote, votar. Turnout, porcentaje de votantes. Candidate, candidato. Patriotic, patriótico. Independent, independiente. Term, periodo de gobierno. Contextualization. Listen to a conversation between two friends who represent two different positions in the political spectrum. Who do you think is right? We agree to disagree.
Okay, Mary, what's your take on the latest Times poll showing the race for mayor at 35% Mendoza, 33% Urrutia, 32% Lopera?
I'm impressed. Mendoza has excellent proposals to the community as well as the others.
Yes, the time is going to be a hard decision to make when voting.
All of them are well-rounded politicians who have their fingers on the pulse of the nation.
I think we all consider Urrutia, Mendoza, and Lopera as good options for our city. We are tired of demagogues who love saying whatever it is people with no judgment like to hear.
You're right. Anyway, even though they are from different political parties, all of them propose a better education system, universal health coverage, and the privatization of some public institutions.
Why should they be privatized?
Because most public institutions would do way better if capable managers ran them.
I understand. Well, I have to go. We'll talk again later when I get back from class.
I'll be right here. Have a nice class.